Today we have Taylor K. Shaw with us, creative writer, founder, and CEO of BWA Studios. Thank you, Taylor, for joining us today.
Thank you, Tara, for having me.
Yes. Excited to be able to sit and have this conversation. I know we talk a lot offline, always sharing insights and information, but today is really about opening up that door and really getting to make more people aware of some of the trials and tribulations and learnings that come with building a company in the entertainment and advertising space, which is, it's a lot.
Woo, it is a lot.
It's a lot. So we'll start with just taking it back. Like, tell us all about your journey. How do you get to where you are today? And you can take it back as far as it makes sense for you.
Yeah, I'll take it back to college because I feel like that's a great way to show like the path takes us through windy roads and it's not always clear, but when your purpose and your passion are there, it makes the path clearer when you follow that. So college, thought I wanted to be a talk show host. So I went to school for journalism. And just in navigating that space, I started to recognize, there are so few Black people, folks of color in leadership. In journalism, everybody in the newsroom who's making the decisions, typically they went to the same school or they all look the same.
Right.
So fast forward, worked in South Africa, actually at a TV news station. Same thing in Africa. I was like, okay, journalism might not be for me in that, is this the way that I want to tell stories? I also felt like storytelling was a bit limited there. So I decided not to, fully use that degree. I am a journalist at heart, y'all. And then that led me to just saying, okay, TV and film, let me try my hand there. So after undergrad, I actually worked on a few shows for Big Fish, like Black Ink Crew Chicago, like all of that. Then went to Atlanta, worked for some scripted TV shows and also some reality shows. Got a lot of learnings there. And again, everywhere I went, one of the shows, the scripted shows I worked on had a Black female lead created by a Black woman. And most of the crew who were in positions of power, white folks.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, same thing here. Fast forward, came to New York about 2017, started working at Viceland, creating interstitial content for their TV channel. Same thing. Lack of diversity in leadership there, like a Black woman, lack of diversity on the screen of this, like there were no series that we had created as the interstitial team that featured Black female or diverse women in a recurring capacity. And so I created that, did a lot and a bit too much. We could talk about that at Vice. And then in that role, and then I helped them start their corporate social responsibility department. Okay. While all of this was going on, I had this idea for a Black girl version of the Boondocks, which we're still developing at BWA Studios. But in working to create that show, I couldn't find a Black female animator. And I thought that was crazy. And so that's really how the company came together. And fast forward to now with us working with a lot of different streamers, brands to create animated content.
Nice. What a journey. And now that you're here, what ways do you go about now finding Black animators and Black creatives? Like, what is that process for you guys? Yeah, so we've built a really great community. And so a lot of folks come to us now. And also, as we're looking out for folks, I mean, the community still has to be nurtured and it does need to grow at a global level. There's Black female animators all around the world. Yeah. And so we do that work of continuing to build community, make sure artists know who we are so they can come to us. And then also it's so much word of mouth, which I think can kind of be slept on. But the reality is we're building this database. And so as we're building it, we're going to have to collect a human here or there. So if there's some animators, designers watching, hit me up. Yes. And remind us again, I feel like it's
it's known, but just say it for us. What does BWA stand for today?
Yeah, so BWA stands for Black Women Animate, and that is because I'm a straight shooter. I'm really trying to show people Black female animators do exist, and it's interesting if I talk to folks in the entertainment industry, like TV, film, and also folks on the advertising side. If you ask them, do you know, the name just makes people be like, oh, I actually don't know any. I personally
don't know any.
Yeah.
One Black female and one Black male that we tend to just call for everything.
Yeah, you call them for everything. Those are like your go-tos. And so, yes, that's what it stands for, with the mission of one day everybody knows, right? A Black female animator, and has worked with them, has hired one. Like, it's just normalized.
So you guys have been in business for how long now? You've been doing this for...
Startup years are long.
They feel like double.
It is double. So I've been running this company full-time since 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, since 2019.
So almost 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. Okay. And I incorporated it 2018. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so...
And you started in the industry when?
I graduated
just to give us
graduated from undergrad 2016. So I kind of came out of undergrad like hot and heavy.
Straight shooter, knew what you wanted.
Let's make something.
I love it. So between 2016 and today, what do you feel like, when was that moment where you realized, okay, I'm on the right path? Like, all right, what I'm building, it has some traction. You know, what we're doing is here, like my purpose is being fulfilled day to day.
Yeah. For us, so just in coming to Brooklyn, I started to put a team together for the show I mentioned, the Black Girl Boondocks. And I would find those people, again, like word of mouth, this person on the street, just randomly meeting somebody, and they're like, I do design, I'm a compositor, different things. And then we started to do, at the time we were a collective, so we started to do events at Vice. And then
Williamsburg.
Yeah, the Williamsburg location. And we did a big RIP, right? We did a big launch event there, and we actually ended up in Teen Vogue. And that article went viral. And then that led to me meeting with a bunch of studios, like a bunch of just people who in the industry who wanted to work with us and support with furthering our mission.
Nice.
So yeah, that's really how a lot of the pieces started to come together with that Teen Vogue article going. And for me, I knew that it was a great idea, but beyond it being a great idea, I was like, I love Black women and I want to see us actually be able to be animators. If I had known that I could be an animator as a kid, or a producer of animation, a director of animation, an executive producer, a show creator, I would have
studied more,
or
paid a bit more attention.
Maybe I would have gone along that path. And so there's so many jobs within animation that I think there's a lot of crossover. Even if you're in live action production, like folks can learn animation production too and have that additional skill set. So yeah.
What would you say actually is the main difference? Because I do find that sometimes crossing over, whether it's from TV and film to advertising, or it's live action to animation, or it's events to live action, that there's often a lot of intimidation for people in production. What would you say are the similarities and then the differences between, let's say, live action and animation?
Production is production.
The foundation is
boom. So y'all know something's going to go wrong. A lot of things are going to go wrong. And it always comes together and something, like, it goes right. And so I think the big differences between live action and animation is just understanding the nuances and actually the art and craft of animation, just like you would live action. I think a lot of folks have, a great understanding and foundation of live action. Even if you're on the animation side, like, we all watch movies, we all watch TV, we all watch commercials with real people in them. On the animation side, I think it's just a thing of somebody teaching you, from live action to animation, like, hey, this is what things look like. This is so it takes time. And also, I did not know anything about animation when I started this company.
Nice. Okay.
I had only done live action work.
Wow. Okay.
So
the learning process
y'all,
for you as well.
Yeah, seriously, do with that what you will. It's totally possible to cross over, and I think for producers, directors too. I mean, it's an exciting opportunity to try animation because it just adds to your repertoire. Like it just adds to.
Yeah.
And
it expands your portfolio, and it's fun. I already have 2 animated stories I want to tell. We'll talk about that later.
It's so fun.
What was there someone that was essential in your development process, especially in the early years, being that you came from live action, that helped you learn, or was there a resource that you used to better understand animation?
That is a great question, and I wish that there was like an animation professional that was just like feeding me the how to do
animation
mentor, right? But our founding partner, J-Love Calderon at BWA, also she hitched herself to my wagon and didn't know anything about animation either.
Oh wow!
So so we were just like, we want to support, Black women. How do we make this happen? We love art and want to create this Black Girl Boondocks. How do we do it? Right. And so I would say that we kind of just figured it out. I was doing everything at the beginning. I was the production manager. I was the producer. I was the creative director. I was the financial person, line producer, admin, all of it, biz dev, like all of it. And I would say as time goes on, and just in learning animation, I can always be a resource to anyone who wants to learn more.
Right.
Because there are folks that are willing to teach. And so over time, I started to meet team, hired a great production manager eventually, when we could afford it. And now we have a head of studio who has over 20 years of experience in animation.
Right.
These are both Black women also, which is exciting.
Your whole team, majority of your team is Black.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The majority of my team is Black.
And
the majority of the team is Black. Core team's female.
Great.
Majority of team is Black.
Great.
So, yeah.
What is, in this journey of you guys figuring it out, what was one job that you feel like had a steep learning curve for you all?
Yes. So we did this amazing project with Hulu called Monuments. It was this really great campaign.
Yes.
Essentially, there are more physical monuments to animals in America than there are to women. And so Hulu wanted to honor... Hilarious, right?
Figure.
So Hulu wanted to honor Coretta Scott King, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And it's a huge activation. It's the biggest project at that time that we had done to date. And, again, I was doing all the jobs. I had just brought on a production manager part-time, but I was doing all of the jobs, and I was just going, and we needed to scale up the team to be able to do the work. But I was like, okay, we're signing the contract. So now, I have to figure it out. And then at that time, I was still doing a lot of the creative on the commercial side. And for the Coretta piece specifically, I chose this style that is very hard to do. So speaking of the nuances of animation, from animation to live action people sometimes will think oh, animation, we can just do that. Animation at a point, first of all, the style you pick at the beginning on your timeline really matters.
Okay.
But at a point, you cannot go back with animation. You cannot reshoot. What's done is done, or the budget has to...
It explodes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so,
what is that point?
The point where we stop, we do storyboards. When you get to color, when you start getting into color is when we're we cannot help you.
Okay.
Yeah. And on big projects like that, you gotta be super clear. So I think one big difference between that live action folks should also be aware of with animation is just the stop points, what it really takes. People don't understand what it really takes because, people are doing the physical labor. Yeah, there are a lot of technical tools now, technology that we can use to speed up the process. But animation, there's a point at which you cannot reshoot.
Right. Okay.
If you want to make your live line. Okay. So just the style that I picked for Coretta is beautiful, and it looks beautiful if y'all go search it online. But that was a lot.
Yeah. Was it something that was underpaid, or?
I would say for industry standard, again, like as a studio that is growing, we've had to have competitive rates.
Okay.
So now as we continue to grow, we show improve, we up our rates, like to compete, to be closer to the level of these other independent animation studios and hubs that we know of. But yeah, as a studio, we have definitely taken work that was so low paying that it was basically free because it was getting out there. And I think also sometimes when we would be trying to co-produce on a deal with like, you know, a major production company or studio, they have all the resources in the world. They want to work with us, but if we're co-producing it, that means that we are putting resources in too, meaning like we ain't getting no money.
Right.
So, you know, some of those deals early on were also really challenging for us because we want to work with you, X major production company, but I have to pay people.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that taking some of that work though, then created an opportunity for you to get others? So we base a lot of our decisions on, we call it the 3 R's: real, revenue, or relationship. So over the years, we'd kind of judge or decide if something was worth it based on those three. It always had to hit 2 of the 3. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes it just kind of, some of the work we don't even showcase or even put on our website. Were there any opportunities that you leaned into that did flip into the better for you guys for free? The ones that you did for free?
That flipped into the better. I think somewhat, like we'll do a logo here or there for somebody. We don't do logo work necessarily, but if it's a part of a bigger package of work, we'll do it. Okay. So I think the jury's still out on those. I think for us, the jury's still out, but I do believe in like building the relationship. Actually, I'll correct that. We recently did a deal where we are supporting folks with like their talent pipeline, which is just something that we do organically as a studio because we hire diverse talent. And with the start of this deal is with the promise of us having larger, bigger collaborations. And it's looking like now that actually might pan out. So, but we've been in conversations with that studio for years too. So it's, you know, it's a process, but when the missions are aligned and when the money is there, eventually it can
to fruition.
Hopefully come to fruition. Yeah.
Tell us about the initiative itself, the Talent Pipeline Initiative.
Yeah, so we're calling it our Equity Accelerator, spelling accelerator, EXCEL. And the goal is for us to hire 200 diverse animation professionals. So that includes producers, that includes directors, that includes animators, all of it by the end of 2025.
Nice.
So that's the mission vision. And we want to partner with corporations who have pledged, 2%, 5% of their ad spend to Black-owned media companies to help us with that, with the goal being that we are looking to create a sustainable pipeline of diverse talent in the advertising, in the TV and film industries, because you should be able to say that 5, 10 Black female animators. Folks should be able to say, oh, I work on live action and animated production. That's just not something I think that is easily accessible to a lot of diverse talent in the industry. And so that's ultimately the goal of the initiative, is we're providing premium content as we have for Hulu, Netflix, HBO, and the pipeline is being fed. Artists are being supported financially with money, because we need money as artists. I think all the artists watching, just thinking about how do you keep your career going and the different pivots that you have to make to just remain in this industry. The goal is to hopefully make it more sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like it needs to be a feature on the Workflow Marketplace.
Yes.
So we all can find each other.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it does need to be.
So we'll have to talk about that a bit more. And so with all of this, what would you say is the 1 or 2 pieces of advice that you wish you had, whether it was like your early days when you were still kind of navigating live action and production as a whole, or even more recently as a founder, you guys raised, right, as well. So love to hear about that experience, because not a lot of us even raise for, it's very hard to raise for a studio or a production company in general, because a lot of people don't understand how we act essentially as escrow for our clients. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that and also share that, because it's something to be recognized and celebrated.
Thank you.
But then also, what is some advice that you wish you had back then?
Yeah. Early in my career, because I think a lot of us are stars, and, we can just do. Like, I know the PMs, the line producers out there, like, I know y'all get it. You can just do. And I think that when people sometimes see that light, they can try to, like, dim it a bit and just be like, especially early in your career. Because, there is a way that these industries work.
Yeah.
And there's a culture that has been set before any of us even got into the space.
For sure.
And so I think that my advice for myself, probably at that time, and my advice in general, if you're starting out, is like, it's okay to be a multi-hyphenate. It's okay to have multiple skills and thoughts. So, like, if you're a line at our studio, I love that everybody on my team is creative.
Yeah.
I'm not telling a production manager that they can't, have a creative thought and at an appropriate time, like, share that, So I think it's okay to be multi-hyphenate and to bring all of yourself to a space. Like, I think I would give myself the advice to figure out what your story is and how you express that you're multi-hyphenate. Don't try to put different parts of yourself into a box, because that actually does make you a better team member. If you get, you get creative, you get, logistics, like, you know how to operate a production, you know how to budget, great. Like, you're an asset. What I look for, especially because we have a growing studio. The team has been small but mighty. I'm always looking for, I say, like, versatility and voice in artists. And I think I also look at that for in people across the board. Like, if you can do it, just tell me and let's go.
Right to it.
Which I'm sure you understand as a
everyone's multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
And we have to be as founders, but it's important to encourage others to be as well. So our producers are a part of creative. Our creatives can be a part of production. It's opportunities for everyone to be able to learn and not be put in a box. If we're creating a space that is essentially meant to be different than what was set before we got in, as you mentioned, one of the most important things is creating a space for people to stretch and grow and learn and not be boxed in and kind of pigeonholed into a title.
That's how innovation happens. Like, some great artists have come from my, she was our senior PM, now she's our consulting producer. Like, some great artists have come from her. Great artists have come from my assistant. Like, if you have an idea, share it. So I think, for people looking to kind of figure out how to be passionate and live in passion in this industry that can be rigid depending on where you work, and who you're working with, that's what I would say for sure.
I think it's also important, though, to read the room.
It is also important to read the room.
Because you just don't want to, like, blurt out your creative idea.
Right. That's what I said. Also, like, when it's appropriate, And also, I think if your role is a specific role, not everybody works at 19th or Workflow or BWA. So it's not always going to be where, ideas are open to everyone. Right. So I think also, like, knowing how to have a conversation with the supervisor and just offering of support of additional expressing your desires. And I will say, early in my career, I was not always the best at that. And it led to some sticky conversations and situations. And that's because you just don't know. You can't go everywhere and be like, oh yeah, I can do it. Like, yeah, you can do it. But that's really good for all production folks to know, especially if you're starting out and you're watching this, like, definitely consult, Can
you tell us about one of those moments?
Oh, I probably had a few early in my career.
I've definitely had
this girl. Yeah, that girl was bold. I would say, I remember one time I had the supervisor who told me to reach out to her boss about, and we were technically, our department was under marketing. She told me to reach out to her boss about something. It was an idea or something like that. So I reached out to the boss directly because she told me to without her on CC.
Oh.
She got so upset with me that she was not on CC on the email. I didn't even know that was like a thing that you do. Like, I didn't know that was etiquette. She probably should have told me. And also, I think that that's just a function of, you know, me not knowing and also just being like a young, ambitious person that's down to do the work. So I think it's very true, especially in this industry, that you don't know what you don't know, and people will write will scratch your name out because you just didn't know something like that. So it's important to ask. Like, in hindsight, maybe I should have asked her, with the email, is there anything additionally that you want me to, you know, add to it? Like, do you have any, you know, thoughts, suggestions?
Yeah.
How do you want this to be, this communication to go out? I still think she's tripping. And also, we work in this industry. So, I probably had a moment or two like that because when I was working at that place too, the lines were a little blurred. Like, you could come up with creative, and also maybe didn't get the producer title for the creative that you come up with, or like this. So it's very interesting spaces to be in this industry, for sure.
That brings up a great point about etiquette, though, when it comes to knowing how to email, especially knowing how to email, knowing how to send messages, knowing how to present as well. Because if you're ushering in an idea, what we've learned is it's best communicated in the form of a deck. Right? So it's important for creatives, directors, producers, anyone that has an idea or has a thought to understand how to document it and share it in that way, and it not just be like a blurb, you know, like just a mouthful of information that you're just like sharing and like having like a Basquiat moment. Like, people don't receive that well unless you're Basquiat, or, you know, someone of that height, Pharrell. But also email etiquette and knowing how to CC. There's so many creatives that I've met that are like, I can create, but I cannot do this email thing. But I think we're at a point in time where it is a part of it.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we teach that at BWA. Yeah, we teach that. Like, everybody on my team, like, emails are, when you're being onboarded, we'll support with, you know, reviewing those emails if you feel like you need that, or if we notice that you need that just based on how you communicate, like, person to person. And I think those skills can be developed. And honestly, they have to be developed for everyone. As you just said, like, it's essential to the progression of your career to know how to email, to know how to talk to people one-to-one and build relationships one-to-one. I think that goes back to what I was saying about knowing your story and knowing who you are and being able to communicate it. Because you will be in the box that you allow people to put you in.
For so long.
So if you're a great PA, you're going to stay a great PA if you're not telling people, oh, I do a great job here, and I'm more than that.
Right. I'm interested in camera, or I'm interested in art. Like, I would like to explore. There are many people. One of our directors who's doing a shoot with us right now, she's on our roster at 19th. She was our COVID officer. In 2020. And she had been writing and directing, but it was through her speaking up. And our head of production and one of our producers that were with us at the time heard that and saw that and started bringing her in to produce stuff that kept leading to her building a commercial portfolio where now we're putting her up for Ulta jobs and Pringle jobs. And
that's amazing. And that's also due to her doing an excellent job at the COVID-19 officer job. Like, do the job well, and it's a dance. It's like, do the job with excellence, but don't do the job like it's like, oh, this is my
this is my whole life. This is the job. Like, do a really amazing job, and also let people know. And also, yeah, I enjoy working with you in this capacity. And, you know, I'm open here. Or if you do a good job, people will let you kind of apprentice and shadow on camera. Yeah. You know, you might be able to watch the director for a couple of hours, and stand. So you create opportunities for yourself when you pay attention. A really great example, I was working on a show, and again, young me, I went to the production office in my flip-flops.
Oh, wow.
And it was just an office day. Okay. It was not a in the field day.
Were you a PA?
Yeah, it was PA. Okay. Yeah. So many messages for PAs. But yeah, and this guy told me, he's like, look around the office. Like, is anybody else wearing flip-flops? And I was like, no. And he's like, yeah, everybody's wearing closed-toe shoes because you should. And what if the big boss comes in and they see like you're the only person wearing, you know, non-closed-toe shoes? Yeah. And so I think that's a small example. That's not a career-ending example. And I think that I share it to say that pay attention to everybody in the room and what it is that they're doing, how they're moving, what is going on, how things are working, like be fully present. Because you don't know also what you might find interesting. Right. If you're at the beginning of your career, or if you're even coordinator position too. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely closed-toed shoes. It's like, you got to be ready to go at any point in time. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to go get lunch if you need to, especially as a PA, but really in general. It's that. Oh, I will never forget. An intern came to a fashion week. It's so funny. She's an amazing, renowned stylist now. So this is like 13 years ago. But she came to a fitting. We were doing fittings for Diesel. And she came in a white outfit and heels to like a work day, and we had to like graciously ask her to go home and change or go buy like a new look that is more, because also you don't want to be louder to
go buy some black and some flats or some sneakers, so you can actually work, because if you're wearing heels, like, you're not working as fast as you need to be. B, so that you're also not standing out like a sore thumb, especially when we're around talent and the designer and the big boss and the big client. That isn't necessarily how you want to position yourself in that intern and PA level. But even as a founder, I like to just kind of blend in. I'm past my all black days, but I'm definitely still low-key casual dress. Yeah, absolutely, because you shine through the work. Like, you shine through delivering excellence. Yeah, as you're growing and building. I mean, the only person that gets to wear what they want is everybody has a uniform. Right. Everybody does have a uniform. Again, I have a lot of stories of how I was, because I have my own company now, because I'm not the best with rules. And also, there's just, the focus should be on, if you're starting out in your career, I think is, how do I make what I want people to see about me? How do I make that obvious and plain? So, like, if you want to one day be a director, producer, how do you show up in a way like, you can care about how you look, nice blacks. Right. And also, are you showing people that you're serious about, like, the craft, and how? Right. Is it because you're doing this job well, and also you show an interest in what it is that they do, and you ask great questions. You should always ask questions to everyone on set. I think everyone, because you need to know. You need to. I still walk around and ask questions. Yeah. What is this? What are you doing? What is that tool? Like, there's still always something new to learn from everyone around. Yeah. So, speaking of learning, what are you reading or listening to now? Yes, I am reading Rick Rubin's The Creative Act right now. It's like all the chapters are like musings, kind of his. I imagine him kind of like with doing a sound bowl thing and then writing a little bit over a couple years. So that's been really good. He's like recording it and then like transcript, like he's just bowling and saying what comes to his mind, and then it just turns into a transcript.
Right, exactly. That's what it feels like. So it's been good because especially in this time, right, like in this economy, in this interesting time for the entertainment industry, like all of that's happening, it's a time to get creative, really innovative, and get back to the essence of things. And the essence of my work is that I believe that Black women should be able to be and live and eat as artists. So how can that look and exist in this world, like no matter what is transpiring? So that book, and then another book my founding partner J Love and I are actually reading together is The 12-Week Year. And so that book, the thesis of it is that we usually set goals annually. And so what that does is, you know, we set a goal and it's far off down that way. We might not even reach all of our goals. But if you think about the 12-week year, if you set goals week to week, then you might be moving in a different way. So I'm just getting started with the book. But that I've had some good insights already from that, because it's all about how you execute.
Right.
Yeah.
And so your 12-week year is essentially thinking about quarter to quarter. Is that what it means?
Thinking in shorter increments of time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thinking actually like 12 weeks a quarter.
Right.
But really thinking about each week as a way to to execute. And then, okay, this quarter we did this, next quarter. Yeah.
Very smart approach. All right. Well, thank you for spending time with us. Any last words, any last advice for the people that you want to drop? Also tell us where everyone can find you.
Yes.
And find BWA.
Yes.
As well.
My last words of wisdom or just encouragement is I believe in everybody watching. I believe in you creatives. I believe that everybody is a multi-hyphenate and has those creative genes, and we should embrace them. So yeah, I'm excited to just be all up in the workflow community and meeting all these dope creatives. And to keep up with me, it's just Taylor K. Shaw on all socials, Instagram, LinkedIn also, and then BWA is BWA Studios _ BWA Studios on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Make sure you go follow and tap into the BWA Studios team. And thank you, Taylor, again for joining us on OK Copy Podcast.
Yay! Thanks, Sarah.